Agree or disagree? Xbox should be leaning into remaking their classic games in the same way that PlayStation is.
Ooh.
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 Ooh. Agree.
Disagree.
I'm on disagree as well.
Okay.
So I think then we start with you, Despawn.
Okay.
What's the argument?
I mean, good favor with the community. Like, there is so many pitfalls that Xbox have had recently where they have just shot themselves in the foot time and time again in marketing and everything else. Like, if you came out and said, we're going to make you a new Viva Pinata, we're going to make you a new Banjo-Kazooie, we're going to remake from the ground up the Gears of War series, we're going to make up from the ground up all of these long dormant titles that we've now just bought. Like, you turn around to them and said, like, we've got this game in development now for you because you love them. That's why you love these IPs. We're coming out with them. Also, Perfect Dark, here's a good look at it now in the modern styling. You're excited about it right now, possibly, maybe, who knows. I think that would carry so much good favor with the Xbox community. I think it's just a great marketing decision. And honestly, I'd just love to go back and play some of those classic titles that kind of have fallen away to the wayside a little bit. Like, if you did a modern Viva Pinata with the kind of love and care and attention that, like, say, like an Animal Crossing, or I'm going to put it out just as a recent example, the Dundoki Island section in Infinite Wealth. You put that kind of care and attention to a Viva Pinata. Like, I think there is a vocal community out there who are going to love that. And yeah, it's only going to be good for Xbox to say, look, like, we recognize the past that we've got and the IP power that we have. We're going to finally dig into it and give you guys what you want. Like, look at the not a great example, but I really enjoyed it. Like Battletoads, when they finally came out and said, right, we're making you a brand new Battletoads, like a classic 2D, like beat 'em up, like, and it was great. It was genuinely great. I enjoyed it. Like,
but that was a brand new game, not a remake.
But no, but like, okay, so maybe not the best example, but Ultimate Edition of Gears of War. Then there's a remake for you.
Move aside, Despawn. Look, the problem we have here is Xbox haven't delivered on their first party lineup in terms of new games for too long. Mm-hmm. So for me, for them to be like, okay, and now we're getting a Viva Pinata remake. Like, okay, no thank you. I'm not interested in any remakes. Like, you need to deliver on brand new experiences that are coming to the Xbox ecosystem. I will no longer be saying console. The Xbox ecosystem now. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to, the whole point of this conversation last week, right, was about elevating and getting in new players and blah, 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 blah. A remake of Viva Pinata is not doing that. A remake of Gears of War is not doing that. Like, if people didn't like Gears of War, they're not now going to play a remake of Gears of War. True. If people wanted to play Viva Pinata, they would have bought an Xbox One or 360 One or Series console, right? And they would have went and bought the disc and they would have plopped it in their consoles. Like, no, as much as the audience pretends they're clamoring for these remakes for certain titles, they're really not. They're really, really not. And Xbox needs to focus on delivering brand new, amazing, I'm not even saying good, they need amazing experiences because they haven't delivered that yet. And remakes are not going to do that. I love Gears of War 1. I love Gears of War 2. I love Gears of War 3. I'd love to see them get a remake in the same way Resident Evil 2 did. And so it's drastically... Everything I love about the games are there, but they're different in certain different moments, right? I'd love that, and I would absolutely scream like a little girl probably if that was the case. But that's not what Xbox needs right now. It needs amazing first-party games that are going to deliver on new experiences.
I agree with you. And I think for me, Xbox have never been good with messaging, and we say this constantly. Mm-hmm. And they haven't leaned in enough to what their strategy is, which is not remaking games. It's giving you backwards compatibility. Yeah. And they should have. Every time PlayStation re-releases The Last of Us, Xbox should be laughing. Oh, you want to pay another $70 for that game that you've already bought twice? Why? Join Xbox Game Pass. You can play every Gears of War game with an FPS FPS boost and
Yeah.
some
And
improved graphics,
resolution.
like
Yeah.
and better resolution. Like we've already done the work for you, and we're not charging you for it again. And it's so that we can bring you Gears of War 7 because you don't want to play Gears of War 1 again, no matter how much you think you do. Even the Shadow of Colossus, right? Which is like I think it's a phenomenal remake and a game that had more legacy than I think anything on Xbox has, right? Like this game goes further back than most Xbox's franchises, was beloved but not played by enough people because there weren't enough gamers back then and stuff like that. It just showed you that you should have just made a new Shadow of Colossus and improved the controls and improved all the things and made a new story that resonates with more people now. And it had all these great ideas that it couldn't fulfill back then. So remaking it, whilst nostalgic for a lot of people, new gamers are going to pick that up and go, "What the fuck? Why were people so obsessed with this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?" Make a new one and get a new audience back in on that franchise that people loved and show them why they loved it, and then give them the option in your library to go back and play the old one if they want and have that nostalgic feeling. But making that old game that's 20 years old, 15 years old prettier isn't, like you say, Fix, getting in those new gamers.
Nope.
Modernize, make better, and keep that back catalog, which I think Xbox has done a phenomenal job of. Like game history, preserving those incredible experiences, as incredible as they were when they came out, I think is the way to do it. I'm more excited to do that. Now, the counter to that, I suppose, is Dead Space, right? Which is a game that they recently remade from, not Xbox, but was recently remade from the ground up, and I think did get a lot of new people, including myself, into that franchise. But that was a modern enough game where the controls didn't matter and the things didn't, like, all those things didn't matter so much. Which, to be fair, is a lot of Xbox's back catalog. They're modern enough that you don't need those massive overhauls, but I'd still always rather see a new Gears of War game than a Gears of War remake come down the pipe.
I mean, so would I. But my counter to that counter is, do you not think that Xbox now have enough studios to be able to do both?
No.
You don't?
Clearly
No.
not. Like Fixer said, those new games need to be amazing. We've not got there.
Yeah, true.
What's the last amazing game we got from Xbox was Hi-Fi Rush, which was in my opinion was an amazing game.
Yeah.
And then before that was Psychonauts. Both games were in development before Xbox owned those studios. You know, like we can them as first party, and they are first party.
Yeah.
But we need to. I want to see what all these new Xbox studios are working on now that they are under Xbox's thumb, because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And time will tell. But yeah,
and I think like having the backwards compatible Xbox Game Pass library, having all of those things, again, it's a messaging thing. I want you to have a compulsion games section in there. Let me, as an average gamer, not that I am, but as your average gamer go into Game Pass, understand who this developer is, what their back catalog looks like, and why I should be excited for South of Midnight coming.
Like the Rare Replay kind of was a good example of that. Like, this is the history of Rare. Like, so play all these. You kind of know where they came from. You've got Sea of Thieves now. Maybe you'll have whatever Everwild is when that comes. Oh, man, do you remember Everwild?
Oh shit, Everwild! I forgot all about it.
I think they have as well.
Like, even to the point of like gamify it. Xbox are really good at gamifying, like making you use Game Pass. Like, get an achievement in a Game Pass game this week. And not everybody gives a shit about that.
No.
But give me an achievement for playing every single compulsion game.
Yeah.
And maybe I get something special in South by Midnight, a skin or something like that, right? Like, gamify it in a way that makes me appreciate your history, but I don't need you to spend millions of dollars and a whole team, 3 years to remake a Gears of War game. Like, give me a condensed version even of Gears of War, right? Let me play some of the best bits from all the Gears of War games. It's like its own game in Game Pass. It's like a scene selection, the best bits, history run through or whatever.
That would be amazing.
It's like an 8-hour game that is all of the Gears of War games that have been so far.
Bro, could you imagine that? Of like cutting out like, imagine like wow. I've never thought of that. That's a really cool idea in terms of like Halo, you could do that with. This is, like we would go to YouTube, right? Or like need to know, and then we watch that. Imagine that in game form, which is like and I don't know how they would do it. So you know, you'd need engineers out the wazoo to figure this out, right? Because I'm just spitballing like you just said, right? It's yeah, you start Gears of War 1, and it gives you like 5 of the best story beats that you need to know from Gears 1. And the same in Gears 2, the same in Gears 3, same in Gears 4, leading up to whatever the newest Gears is, and you just keep adding to it. There's an update that goes to it. It's like story. And you imagine you doing that for Halo, Gears, like all these iconic series. That would be crazy.
And I think that might be easier to, and we're not dev guys, so we don't know. That might be easier to implement through streaming.
Yeah, I would have
downloading a whole new thing and having to
Yeah.
build and compile a whole new thing. It'd be able to like drop you into that experience in that moment and give you some new context and stuff. I'd never thought about it before it came out of my mouth either, but I think it's fucking genius.
It is genius.
Hey, on Xbox, where you at? We've got an idea
Let's
for
go.
you. We'll only take like 50%.
Bro.
Like I started this argument by saying Xbox doesn't have the legacy of PlayStation, right? They can't remake a Crash Bandicoot. There is no Crash Bandicoot. There is no Spyro. The closest you get is Chief and Marcus Phoenix and stuff like that. And so having that unique way to experience that franchise could be really cool, eh? Hit me up, Phil. Hit me up. Hit me up.
Phil.
Hit me up, Phil.
So what do we say? Do we agree or do we disagree?
I'm not budging, so
I'm not
it's on
budging
Despawn.
either.
I am. I'm budging. I'm gonna go with you guys. Yeah.
Consensus. Let us know what you think in the comments, as always.